Happy Monday, everybody. Welcome to pre-market update. You can see we had a really nice dump on Friday. All the indices are in the buy zone. You can see S&P 500. This is only for day trading chart, only for 1 day trade. You can see it came in the buy zone and pre-market pumped. You can see it was closing here on Friday and then futures opened and they were pumping 0.67% pump and then now going again back in the buy zone, green line zone. Nasdaq pump from open futures open this Sunday almost 1% and then going back to the buy zone. And then you can see same thing on Russell as well is touching the buy zone. Dow Jones is also touching the buy zone. Crude oil also you can see touched the buy zone now going higher a bit. So you can see nice touches multiple times. Bitcoin is a bit stronger, but touched buy zone here on Sunday around 5 p.m. bounce and now came back, gave back all. You can see so nice trade here Sunday from buy zone, green zone to the sell zone, 4% pump, and then from red zone to the green zone again 3% dump. So you can see so easily you can go and then make these trades using this indicator. If you want to know more about this indicator, click the join button in the description of this video. Join my channel and let me know your user ID and I will add you to members only Discord group where I share these levels every hour so you can make your decisions. I also tell what I buy, what I sell, levels for those when I will be selling. So all of these you can make tons of money. All right, guys, let's move now to traditional market and let's go to our regular analysis. I want to start with some gaps today on S&P 500 and Nasdaq, okay? And then we'll move to Bitcoin because this is interesting market. Bitcoin is just flat, and you can see here we have a gap down on Friday and Jerome Powell was talking and something, and he said he's not in a hurry to lower interest rates. So we had a nice sell-off. Now remember there is a gap here. Okay, this is election gaps, gap up, and we are kind of from S&P 500's point of view, we are about 1.5% away to fill that gap. So they could go and fill this gap and then bounce, or it all depends on NVIDIA earnings, guys. So NVIDIA is earnings is probably so it's happening on end of day on Wednesday, I think. Yeah. So a lot depends on Nvidia. So if what I'm thinking, if the market is here around on this gap fill on Wednesday, then they will pump. Else, if the market is here on this top gap fill, yellow gap fill, we gap down, then market probably gonna dump and fill this gap. Nvidia is a market moving stock, so just keep that in mind. On Nasdaq, the gap is very close, so I think more than likely they're gonna go and try and fill this gap today. So where we closed on Friday to that gap fill is around only 0.74% away. Okay, so they could do a quick flush, fill this gap, and then look to bounce. But again, it all depends on Nvidia. If they bounce before Nvidia until Wednesday, if we are here, then we might come back down. Or if we are sitting on the gap fill on Nvidia earnings, we could pump. All right, so just keep that in mind. I want to share another chart with you on a 4 hours, 2 hours chart on a regression channel chart here. You can see here S&P 500. Actually, let's start with Nasdaq. You can see Nasdaq is right on this buy line. All right. So every time we go below this white line, that's usually a good area to buy. The lower we go, the better the buy. So it could still go all the way down to 19,754. So just keep that in mind. And you can see RSI is pretty very oversold. So keep that in mind. S&P 500 also just touching the buy zone here. Nice touches of sell zone and now again touching buy zone. So the lower it goes, the better the buy is. Now I want to show you something else. Like if you go to 4, there was some issue with my recording. It's back now. Okay, if I go to 4 hours chart, you can see um, I still want this RSI to go in the green zone. Usually that's a better buy. You can see where I see light red background. I want to see something like that to be very sure of buying it. But until that, it could still go lower. The reason is there are gaps on SPX, which probably could take it more lower. So that's the only thing which is stopping me to buy. I think we could go a little lower. And if we touch this green zone on S&P 500 MES, then I will be blindly buying it. Until then, I will be kind of on a holding pattern. All right, let's see what it brings. And you can see this is Dow Jones. Same thing, selling off from the top. now going to the buy zone, and then Russell 2000, same thing here. Nice sell off from the top, now going in the neutral zone. All right, so just keep that in mind. In terms of gaps, if I want to show you daily chart, gaps on Dow Jones, here you go, DIA ETF, massive gap here, so still long ways away. IWM still has about, from where it is right now, where it closed on Friday, about 1.7% gap. So they could do a Dow Jones gap fill sooner than later. All right, keep that in mind. All right, let's go to Bitcoin. Bitcoin, you can see daily chart just kind of flagging, holding it nicely, just giving time for moving averages to catch up. If I go to 1 hour chart on Bitcoin, you can see some divergences are happening on 1 hour, made a new high on divergent high, PPO and RSI going lower high. And if I go to daily chart, you can see getting a 9 count sell signal here, just holding. Last time we got a little dump. Every time we get this 8 or 7 counts, we usually get dump sooner than later. You can see here we got it, and later on we got dump. So here we got 9 counts by sell signal, and then we dump. So these are extreme levels, especially when the background on RSI is light green. This is very, very overbought. It's a good area to take profit. Keep an eye on this PPO. You don't want green line to go below red line. If that happens, that's like a short deal. We are going lower. For example, on MES chart, you can see PP already cross over, so that's going to put downwards pressure on S&P 500. Same thing on Nasdaq. Same thing here. All these major indices have this crossover about to happen. Um, NDX is also just touching right now. Something like crude oil, you can see it's the other way around. Actually, it's trying to move higher, so getting a 7 count buy signal. So probably it's going to start going higher with a gap to fill around 75.39. So crude oil is like, look at the bottom. It is at the bottom, all right. Nice support here. It's not going to break that support. So probably things like crude oil you should be looking to buy. Things like bonds, ZB, you can see near like pretty much all-time low. Not all-time low, but pretty much at a nice support here. So things like bonds, crude oil are the ways to go. You don't need to go and buy chase Bitcoin or S&P 500 stocks. So just keep that in mind. BTC CME futures had a gap down. Looks like they filled this gap, so you can delete this. Just remember there is a gap here around 77K on BTC, all right? On Ethereum, that gap is around here, around 29.73. Ethereum is a bit weaker. There's another gap here around 22.38. So just keep that in mind. Hang Seng Index, again, getting a 7 counts buy signal. Let's see if it's going to bounce, or I would prefer if it fills these two gap around 18,000. So there are two gaps here. That would be a nice area to buy if it fills that gap on China. Toronto Stock Exchange again cooling down a bit. Nice uptrend, but new highs with divergence. So it looks like a correction is due. So let's see if they can give that today. Natural gas, nice moves, gap up. Probably they're gonna come back, fill this gap at some point. $3, 3 cents. Again, there's a gap around 2.78. Gold finally recovering, trying to bounce. If I go to 1 hour chart, there was a slight gap up, so let's see if it's gonna come back and fill that gap at some point. But this probably pretty much over oversold bounce. So let's see if it can bounce and fail again, come around. I really want gold to buy around 2400 $2,400. Okay, not interested until that happens. Silver also trying to 9 count buy signal, just getting a little bounce before it can reject probably. Copper also getting a 7 count buy signal. Sugar flagging for a long time. Let's see if it can eventually break. Wheat, not good. Wanted to close above 570, still going lower. And corn is holding its line above moving averages. Dollar, this consolidating. This thing can become support if this can break out. So it's still a kind of a resistance here where it is right now, dollar. So I really want this to convincingly break. If this thing breaks, then it's going to another 113. So dollar is very, very strong at this time. FANG stocks, nothing much. Most of these had a gap down on Friday. So until that gap is filled on S&P 500, Microsoft could be a good buy sitting on 200 EMA. Not much interesting. Google almost filling this earnings gap. Probably it's going to come back, fill this gap at some point. Amazon had a nice 7%, sorry, 4% dump. again, this big gap here. Again, this is like earnings gap. So just keep that in mind. There are a lot of gaps. Most of these chart, NVDA is the key here. Earning speed can take it to 150s. Else anything bad can bring it back to these levels 118, 129. So let's see what market decides. Tesla just keeps going higher. Rocket launch looks like a rocket. Um, so I think this looks like a blow off top. I'm just doing a speculation. This could go like this, and now we're getting a pump, and then we come down. All right. So just keep that in mind. Who knows how it's gonna play out, but be very careful with. You can see something like this here. Same pattern here. Blow off top, lower high, and then keep going lower. All right. So keep that in mind. It loves to make patterns like this. Even I think it did something like here as well. Okay. It loves to do this again and again. You can see same thing here. Blow off top, high, lower high, keep dumping. Okay, so got to be very, very careful with this stock here. Um, okay, let's go to Wix to wrap it up. Wix daily chart, and you can see a big gap here. Okay, 20 bucks. So let's see if it's going to go fill this gap and then come down, or it's going to go down and fill this gap first. So let's see. I think it's most likely going to go fill this gap and then come back down, just because there are a few gaps on S&P 500 and Nasdaq. So let's see how it goes. Good luck, guys, and I will talk to you later. Bye.